looking for in this game?
Well, I think it all starts with, can Pittsburgh stop Marquette from running and really going into the offensive end of the floor quickly, getting opportunities to go to the bucket or have to double team and throw it out and shoot. I think that will be the whole key in the ball game. If they do that, then I think Pittsburgh's going to win the ball game. If they don't, I think Marquette wins it.
Yeah, Marquette's really got to use its speed. And, Pittsburgh likes to bump every cut, stand you up in your cuts. They've got to be strong and run through those cuts, and they've got to get DeJuan Blair into screen and roll situations, move him around on the floor.
All right, Marquette's third game in 3 days. Will their legs hold up? Jarrell McNeal has been outstanding thus far. Panthers and Golden Eagles coming up next.
The need to survive. The further you go, the stronger it gets. Desire increases.
When the dream that drives you is closer to reality, that's what this show is about. Drama unfolding before your eyes.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, phenomenal. What a great play.
Inside the arena, a reality show as gritty as the streets.
The Oakland Zoo is in the house tonight here in the Garden.
For Pittsburgh, a spot in the final is almost always a reality.
You are the survivors, the winners, the remaining few.
Maurice Acker. Don't touch him, you'll get burned. He's that hot.
Marquette's version of David showed everyone the reality of being a Goliath.
But you've come this far. So how far can you go?
Oh, my goodness! Send it in! All the way. Yes!
Nothing like the lights of the Garden.
Another night, another story. That's how this show goes.
The action is heating up inside the Garden. Continuing coverage of Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. We're at the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale for our second semifinal tonight here in New York City. It's Pittsburgh and Marquette. The number 7 seed in the conference, Pitt, the number 6 seed in the conference, Marquette, with a chance to move on to the championship game and a date with number 1, Georgetown, beating West Virginia by 17 in our first semifinal here tonight. Hi, everybody. Dan Shulman and Len Elmore back with you. And as the man said in the tease off the top of the show, Pittsburgh almost always gets to the final. 6 of the last 7 years. How much, Len, does that have to do? They've got talent, but how much does it also have to do with the New York City kids? This is a huge deal for them to come back and play in this building.
Well, they understand that when they come on this court, they've got to represent. It's all about New York City and New York City basketball. And speaking of New York City basketball players, Levance Fields didn't play much in that February 15th blowout by Marquette. He was just coming off of an injury. He's a different player. Pittsburgh's a different team, more dynamic on offense, and as Jamie Dixon has told us time and time again, they're a much better defensive team now than they were then.
Marquette, a veteran team. You know about the 3 perimeter guys, all juniors, all starters for 3 years. Very impressive against Notre Dame last night, and a great team effort defensively on some of the Big East best scorers the last couple of days.
Well, it was a tremendous effort, and everybody involved for Marquette. It really starts out with the individual defense, and guys like Ousmane Barrow and Jarrell McNeal against Brian Lang. It was Jarrell McNeal who really did the job in slowing him down. His teammates came to help and provide support. And last night against Notre Dame, Ousmane Barrow got it started with individual D. And once again, the support coming from teammates carried the day. Tom Crean's big on issuing challenges, and he hopes his team rises to the occasion once more as they face the Big East's 3rd leading scorer in Sam Young of Pittsburgh.
Part of our Star Watch tonight presented by MLB 2K8. Young has had 2 monster games already in the Big East tournament. And how about Jarrell McNeal? You expect the defense. How about the offense, Len?
Well, he is emerging as the go-to guy for Marquette, and he has delivered each time he's been asked.
For more on Jarrell McNeal, let's go to Doris Burke. Doris?
Well, in fact, Jan, when Marquette was struggling earlier this year, head coach Tom Crean went to last year's Big East Defensive Player of the Year, Jarrell McNeal, and said, listen, I need you to be special again on the defensive end. You need to set the tone with your energy, your on-ball pressure, and your ability to rebound the basketball. This is a young man who prides himself on taking away a man and a half, shutting down his guy, and helping the teammate next to him. Now, Pittsburgh is very concerned about McNeal in transition, but they basically told me if he's making shots, he becomes almost an impossible check.
49 points in 2 games, knocking down threes last night, 28 on the night. The starting lineups are presented by Aeropostale. Ronald Ramon and Levance Fields, who, as Len mentioned, was just back off an injury in the loss to Marquette during the regular season. Keith Benjamin becoming a starter because of the injuries midseason. Sam Young, the most improved player in the league this year. And the massive freshman in the middle, DeJuan Blair, 6'7", 265. For Marquette, James, McNeal, and Matthews, so talented, so together on the perimeter. Lazar Hayward, one of the most improved players in the Big East this year. And Ousmane Barrow, who earned his keep last night defending Luke Herringody. Tonight's game between Pittsburgh and Marquette is also available in high definition on ESPN HD, brought to you by Olivia. Well, it has been a great few days of basketball here in New York City. We are down to 3 teams left. Georgetown awaiting the winner of this one between Marquette and Pittsburgh. If you're looking for omens, Dominic James just had to change his shorts because the string broke. I guess better to find out about that before the game than once it starts. He's got a new pair of shorts on. We are underway, and Pittsburgh will get the first possession of the night.
And again, it comes down to near flawless guard play if you're playing Marquette. Last time these two teams met, 15 turnovers by Pittsburgh, which is highly unusual for a team that values the basketball.
Blair inside, can't get the shot off. And it's going to be a held ball, and the arrow will turn it back over to Marquette.
Well, picking up where they left off, Marquette absolutely surrounding DeJuan Blair.
Jamie Dixon in his 5th season as head coach of the Panthers. They have had a tremendous run in the regular season in this tournament, have gotten as far as the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. Lost Mike Cook, a starter, in December to a torn ACL, and then lost Fields for 12 games with a broken foot. A travel on Barrow.
That was a pretty interesting play right there. As you see Mike Cook on the bench, just have to feel so much for that young man. Began with a tremendous year. Senior year, had an opportunity to go along with this team and flirt with greatness.
Injured late in the game right in this building on the night that Pittsburgh defeated Duke. Sam Young with the first points of the night, averaging 18 a game this year. Marquette, a very quick team, lots of players who can penetrate like McNeal. The handoff goes out of bounds, and another Golden Eagle turnover, much to the displeasure of Tom Crean. The 9th year he has been the head coach at Marquette. 4 NCAAs, 4 NITs, and the great run to the Final Four in 2003. McNeal draws the assignment of Sam Young in the early going. McNeal, a guy who can guard anywhere from a point guard to a power forward. Now a switch, and he's on Ramon, and looks like, Len, there may be a lot of switching for Marquette tonight.
Yeah, one guy shouldn't have to guard Sam Young if you're Marquette. They better get out there and guard the perimeter shooters.
Got to get a hand in the face of Ronald Ramon. A good start for Pittsburgh. Blair picks up a foul. That's a huge key for them to keep him on the floor.
Just as in the first game, all the attention to Joe Alexander. Attention and trying to stay in the paint to protect against Sam Young allows the perimeter shooters to get a look. Now look at how Young positions himself and gets a lock on McNeal. Pass delivered perfectly. And Sam Young, very smart, very adept at waiting until his passes are ready to give it to him where he can use it.
McNeal on the penetration. Marquette on the board, down by 3. Let's go back to the foul on Blair, committing it 40 feet from the bucket, and what it means to them to keep him in the game.
Well, DeJuan Blair is that one guy that helps the perimeter game because he's such a threat inside, and when he's posted up, the help has to kind of retreat a little bit to be ready to help if the ball goes in.
And he got in foul trouble in the regular season meeting between these two teams. Only played 23 minutes, scored 6 points. Marquette beat Pitt by 18.
And the other aspect of it is he's a tremendous rebounder. Takes up a lot of space in there. When it comes time for the defense to really assert itself, make some stops, 1 and out, you depend on DeJuan Blair to get that rebound.
McNeil the foul for the Golden Eagles, his first. Benjamin driving on Hayward, nicely done. Benjamin, a senior, comes up with a steal at the other end. He has become a very important player this year with the injuries they've gone through. Misses that layup. Barrow pushes it, 2-on-1. McNeil around Ramon for the layup.
And that is Marquette basketball. Lightning quick transition. Off the rebound, off the steal. And that's why DeJuan Blair is so important. The one guy who's going to keep the ball alive, both he and Sam Young.
Pittsburgh's been to the tournament finals 6 of the last 7 years. Marquette is in its 3rd year in the Big East. This is the first time they've gotten to Friday night. Blair uses that power.
And that's going to get the defenders off of the perimeter shooters if Blair has more success inside.
Blair, the co-Big East Rookie of the Year storyline, along with Johnny Flynn of Syracuse. Hayward, great ball fake. Rebound Blair. A man after your own heart, had 20 rebounds in a game against Duke earlier this season. Levance Fields, yes!
Well, we said at the beginning of the telecast, New York City players out here looking to represent. And you have gotten contributions from Keith Benjamin, Ronald Ramon, and here Levance Fields gets into the act. Just hanging around, gets the loose ball, draws the contact, and still able to knock it down.
5 Pittsburgh players come from the New York City area. 4 of them are in the rotation and in fact on the floor right now as Tyrell Biggs has replaced DeJuan Blair. A great start for the Panthers, who beat Louisville in overtime last night. Marquette rallied in the second half to knock out Notre Dame. Neither of these teams got a bye. They're the 6 and 7 seeds. They're both playing their 3rd game in as many nights. And the Pittsburgh players a few more minutes because of the overtime game last night. Biggs is called for the foul.
That's the second time a big man has been called for a foul, and hedging on the guards 30 feet away from the basket. Got to use some discretion. Get those hands away from the body. Get them out. Make yourself wide.
McNeil around Ramon. Good help by Sam Young, who has turned into a shot-blocking machine this week in New York. James gets Fields in the air, way short on the jumper. Hearing the chant of air ball from the members of the Oakland Zoo who have come to New York here tonight.
And here's where Pittsburgh, if they don't have numbers, come down and methodically and efficiently set up in their half court.
Fields using the window beautifully. Pittsburgh by 10. Timeout Marquette. Now Sam Young's done a little bit of everything this week. Perhaps even able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Back here in the Garden, the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale, the 26th consecutive year this tournament has taken place in this building. The longest current run for any league in Division I basketball. A great start for the Panthers, up 10. Tom Crean has gone to his bench. Dan Fitzgerald and David Kubian are both in. Kubian misses a 3, rebound to Ramon.
And here's where the defense is starting to make its mark, forcing Marquette into long shots and one and done.
Benjamin driving on Fitzgerald. The step back jumper a little strong. And the rebound to Fitzgerald, a 6'10 forward, but a guy who can light it up from the outside when he's on. Lost the handle, turned it over. Benjamin's got trailers, doesn't need them.
5 turnovers by Marquette, leading to 9 Pittsburgh points and just capitalizing on the errors. And we told you, Pittsburgh with Levance Fields is a much more dynamic team, quite honestly, much more confident team with him running the show.
McNeil knocks down a three. His shooting stroke, he's in the 20s from three-point range on the season, but he has been hot this week.
Boy, if you're measured by confidence, his feet aren't even touching the ground right now. But his team needs him. He has been the one constant on offense for Marquette.
Too easy for Young on the inside.
I tell you, Pittsburgh doing an excellent job as opposed to the last two opponents by Marquette in breaking that defense. Sam Young able to get lobs and able to get great position on Jarrell McNeil.
A foul on Levance Fields, but just about everything else going right for the Panthers early on in this game.
Of course, you can always watch ESPN News to stay current.
Todd Reese, thank you. Well, these young men for the Panthers and the Golden Eagles, like Reese, working night after night after night. Pittsburgh leading Marquette by 11. These guys have played a lot of minutes. Dorsberg with an update on how these guys are doing.
Both coaching staffs clearly concerned about making sure their gentlemen have their legs. The medical staffs took a similar approach. After evening games, guys, they have eaten a meal immediately, gone back to their hotel rooms for rest. They allow them to sleep incredibly late, get up, have a meal, do their shoot-around. Plenty of fluids, obviously, guys. They'll each get a brief rest in the afternoon. But something I found interesting, they have fed them almost as much as they could possibly eat. They do not want them to lose weight and thus weaken their bodies. Interesting.
Sounds like us, other than the allowed to sleep in as much as they want. Those Bo Garrett morning meetings are getting old here on day 3.
Yeah, that sounds like a wish list for some of us. Sleep late, eat all you want.
It's good to be 19, isn't it? Maurice Acker into the game for Marquette. The transfer from Ball State had 11 second-half points last night, including a couple of huge threes.
You talk about huge. Jarrell McNeil once again in traffic, finding a way to score and trying to keep his team's head above water.
He's got all 9 points for the Golden Eagles. Fields, the penetration, and the rebound by Dwight Burke.
Might have been a bit of a force by Levance Fields. Got to be able to explore the defense a little bit. You got to lead like this.
Right now, no James, no Matthews, no Hayward. McNeil's the only starter in the game for Marquette. Defended by the athletic Gilbert Brown. Good job by Brown as he knocks it away. Brown giving Pittsburgh some very good minutes last night against Louisville. 8 points and 8 rebounds. Travel on Young.
Well, we talked a lot about Marquette's defense and what they would do inside to DeJuan Blair and Sam Young, but you take a look, Pittsburgh recognizing that Jarrell McNeil has emerged as a guy who can put up numbers, and they surrounded him, and McNeil's still successful. Look at what he's done thus far in this tournament. As you mentioned, all of Marquette's points tonight.
Averages about 13 points per game, 49 in his first 2 games here in New York. A player who was out with an injured thumb last year did not play in this tournament or the NCAA tournament a year ago for Marquette. Fitzgerald for 3.
Tough shot. Keith Benjamin closed on him nicely. Fitzgerald still with that picture-perfect form.
The first Golden Eagle other than McNeil to score tonight. Ramon, boy, showing some strength, some tenacity on that drive.
Well, Pittsburgh, you can see the game plan. Go at Marquette and go at him hard. Both Fields and Ramon pushing it, trying to beat him off the dribble, getting the paint. And when they can't do it themselves, they're obviously going inside to Young and when Blair was on the floor.
How about Maurice Acker? You talk about a guy who was not on your A-list of people to step up large here in New York. They might not win last night without him, and he knocks down an early jumper here tonight.
Confidence is amazing when you play this game.
Generally the backup to Dominique James getting bigger minutes here in New York. Almost knocked it away from Young, who recovers and lays it in.
Pittsburgh continues to attack.
Sam Young deservedly the most improved player for the Big East this year. Scoring average from 7 points per game up to 18. Acker into the double team. Stolen by Benjamin. Brown and 1.
At this juncture, Marquette can't afford to be making mistakes like that, trying to split the defense.
Marquette turning it over. Pittsburgh making them pay. Panthers by 9.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Aeropostale. Make it happen. And in part by GMC. We are professional grade.
SEC tournament, Alabama, Mississippi State Bulldogs a 3-point lead. 2 seconds to go. Crimson Tide's Mikhail Riley, who hit 8 threes against Florida last night, hit one to put it in overtime there. Bulldogs have a 1-point lead, 2.5 to go in OT. Pac-10 tournament semifinal, USC and UCLA split their regular season meetings. Trojans up by 3 in the first half.
All right, Reese, and Washington State and Stanford on the other side of the semifinals of the Pac-10. We're in the semifinals of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Pittsburgh off to a great start. Normally it's Marquette turning teams over and turning that into points. Pittsburgh turning Marquette over and turning it into points tonight.
Well, 7 turnovers by Marquette, 11 points off turnovers for Pittsburgh. And before the break, I was mentioning the fact that at this juncture, you can't afford lapses in judgment as Maurice Acker had, trying to split a pretty sound defense and turning it over. You've got to be able to make sure that you're going to get some possessions that are going to result in some shots.
Gilbert Brown, a redshirt freshman out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. His responsibilities increased after the injury to Mike Cook and then Levance Fields, as Brown and Benjamin both got a lot more minutes, and Ronald Ramon, in the absence of Fields, became the #1 point guard. And a case on Pittsburgh this year, Len, of everybody doing what was needed of them. And Brown can get up a little bit, huh?
Oh, yes, he can.
Whoa.
Better wear a crash helmet to protect his head from that rim. Perilously close. Watch him get up here. Boom.
I know you're supposed to keep it in bounds, but man, that looked like he was having fun. Knocking it into the 4th row.
Every once in a while, you got to do it for show.
Knocked it right into the Oakland Zoo down in that corner. Oakland, a part of Pittsburgh near the campus, and the Oakland Zoo is the rowdy student section that fills the Pitt.
The rowdy student section,
yes. Huh? Hayward, wave it off, offensive foul.
Tom Crean, incredulous, wants to know what happened. Here's the drive. And yes, sir, Pittsburgh stepping up.
Brown taking the charge.
And he certainly was there, set up before Hayward left the ground.
We talked in the last game about role players for both teams doing the job. For Pittsburgh tonight, this year, Benjamin, Brown, Biggs, those guys, they wouldn't be here without those guys.
It's the same thing we said in the first game. I mean, you can have your stars, but no one guy is going to win this game for you. You need the complement.
On cue, Tyrell Biggs. Nice turnaround jumper. Dominic James back in for Marquette along with Maurice Acker, as James now works off the ball a little bit. McNeil getting a breather.
And Marquette had success with this against Notre Dame yesterday, as Acker established himself as a threat, and Dominic James was able for a few moments to be able to get off offensively.
Shot clock under 10. Acker. Long on the 3. Matthews, a block by Blair. Shot clock still hasn't reset. That will count with 1 on the shot clock. Up and in, and a foul.
I guess no good deed goes unpunished, as Pittsburgh playing tremendous defense. But the perseverance, particularly Jarrell McNeil, and then right there, Burke, not giving up on it after the shot was blocked and hanging around the rim. Good things happen. But if you're Pittsburgh, you got to be a little frustrated. You play tremendous defense. Just didn't get the one loose ball that hurt you.
And Len, number 2 on DeJuan Blair. He is out, and he is a critical player for Pittsburgh. Will he sit for 10 minutes?
Well, it really depends, particularly as to what Tyrell Biggs is able to do. We mentioned before, he's got to be a minutes eater, particularly when Blair gets into foul trouble. It's up to Biggs to play within himself, do the things he does well.
Fields almost banked in a three. Marquette in transition. They are dangerous. Look at it. James to Matthews to McNeil. How often have the folks in Milwaukee seen that combination? All of a sudden, Marquette literally on a run right now to get back within 6.
Well, when you talk about Marquette, look at the transition out here. Now, look how wide these guys are. He's wide near the sideline. He's starting to go wide down the floor, and that prevents the defense from really being able to key, and it gives you passing room and the cutters room to cut to the basket. Just a tremendous job in transition.
Now the Marquette Golden Eagles hoping to advance to tomorrow night's championship game here with the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. The winner of this game between Marquette and Pitt will take on the top seed of the Big East Conference, the Georgetown Hoyas, who beat West Virginia by 17 in semifinal number 1. We'll have it for you tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, right here on ESPN.
That's just a great example of how spacing is so important in this game, particularly on the fast break. And oftentimes you see too many teams with guys running straight down the middle of the floor. That makes it easy for the defenders. One defender can guard 2 guys if they're not spaced properly.
And those 3 guys are fun to watch. They really know what they're doing, and they all play together beautifully. They complement each other's abilities, and they're all juniors. They all could be back for one more year. Sam Young driving on Hayward. Good decision by Biggs.
So that's what Biggs has to do. He's got to be able to contribute something, try to help his team keep this lead with Blair on the bench.
McNeil surrounded by a couple of Panthers, got rid of it. Hayward, a much improved shooter, tried to thread the needle to Matthews, picked off by Young.
Again, judgment, Hayward not the playmaker.
10 turnovers committed by Marquette in just over 11 minutes of action.
And they only average 13 per game.
As Ramon comes back in for Benjamin, Lazar Hayward picks up his second foul. Ramon running around a couple of screens, a very good shooter. Number 3 on Pittsburgh's all-time list of made threes. Brown penetrates the zone, leaves it short. And we'll have a foul against Pitt.
Good idea by Gilbert Brown in penetrating the zone and just trying to shoot that short pull-up. A lot of people don't realize that little 6-footer in front of the rim, one of the hardest shots in the game. You don't have the backboard per se that you can use. It's got to rely all on touch.
Sam Young, the foul, his first, 5th on the team. Each team has committed 5 fouls. Ramon defending McNeil. Ramon is Pittsburgh's best perimeter defender. James. Still loose. Burke has it deflected out of bounds, and it will stay with Marquette. Burke, a blue-collar guy, maybe the counterpart to Terrell Biggs. James inside the arc. Rebound Biggs.
And now you see the value of Terrell Biggs. Once again, being a stalwart on the board.
Fields absorbing the contact, and will go to the free throw line when we come back. One of those New York City kids, Levance Fields. They think this is their house, and they're playing like it so far tonight.
SEC tournament, Alabama, Mississippi State. Play has been suspended. You're taking a look at the Georgia Dome right now. There was a tornado warning in the area, and it appears that part of the roof rumbled and shook, according to the people who were inside the dome. And you see suspended scaffolding swaying, and there is a hole in the side. Play's been suspended. Don't know when they're going to resume. Mississippi State has a 3-point lead with 2.5 to go in overtime.
Now, scary stuff down there. We appreciate the update from Reese, working all night long, keeping us up to date about everything going on around the country. Here in New York, the Georgetown Hoyas with an impressive performance, a 17-point win over West Virginia. Roy Hibbert, maybe the best game of his collegiate career, led 25 points, 13 rebounds, assertive, aggressive, confident, leading the Hoyas into the championship game against the winner of this one.
Well, that young man went from zero production to hero production in just one game. And a lot of it has to do with, I guess, that newfound desire to be a man of impact for Georgetown. He can't hide in the background. He can't hide in the shadows. He's too big.
Brooklyn's Levance Fields at the line out of Xaverian High, one of the 5 New York City area kids we talked about on this Pittsburgh roster. It's been a staple for them over the last 7 or 8 years. And as you have mentioned, they refer to this as their home away from home. They go through their home game routine when they play in New York, not their road game routine. They are 21-8 in this building in the last 8 years. Doris Burke has more.
Well, I asked Ronald Ramon before the tournament why they were so good here. He said, first of all, we've had a history of success, so that breeds confidence. The other thing is you get to sneak home once in a while. He hails from the Bronx All Hallows High School. He said family, friends, their support, this familiarity. They love it, guys.
Well, back in the day, a young Len Elmore out of Power Memorial played a couple of games in this. It's a special time for any city kid to play in the Garden.
And for all the reasons that Doris related, you know, coming here, you got your friends. You definitely have to represent New York City basketball. And when you go out of town and you play for somebody else and you come back, you know, everybody's just aching to see what kind of improvement you have, what this impact has been on you. And you want to show that you made the right decision.
James, the kick to McNeil. Kubian in the corner, misses the 3, and Biggs another rebound. Biggs is giving Pittsburgh some important minutes with DeJuan Blair on the bench with 2 fouls.
And it's really not offense that they necessarily need from him. Any offense from him will be, you know, added benefit. It's the defense, it's the rebounding, it's the playing big in the paint that Pittsburgh needs. Guys like Sam Young can do the rest.
Well, Marquette has put its best defender, Jarrell McNeil, on Sam Young. McNeil's given up about 4 inches in that matchup, and Young has made him pay a couple of times.
Well, Sam Young's game really isn't predicated on him having the ball and trying to make moves, say like a Brian Lang. And he's much more mobile than Luke Herring go to the inside, so he presents a major problem.
McNeil, I believe, called for the offensive foul. It is. Jarrell McNeil on the penetration has just picked up his second.
We take a look at Sam Young right here, locating the defense, and just that little fadeaway, his touch, consummate on the baseline. I mean, McNeil was right on him. You can't play defense any better than Jarrell McNeil played. But Sam Young is a special player.
In this tournament, he sure has been a special player. 21 points and 4 blocks in the first round against Cincinnati. 3 of the blocks in the last 2 minutes to preserve a 6-point win. Last night against Louisville, 21 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and 2 more blocks. And he's already got 10 points here tonight.
There's that ball fake. Take a look at Sam Young with the ball fake. You see him right there. Look at his toes off the ground. And that gets the defender up in the air. I mean, he sells it, and everybody buys. He should go to Wall Street and be a stock or bond salesman.
It's his go-to move, and even though they know it's coming, they cannot resist the urge to get up out of their defensive stance. Lots of the guys on the bench are saying, man, he's done that to us in practice once or twice. They've seen that move. The foul was on Barrow, his second.
I think it's the tiptoes that does it. Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys will fake with the ball, but Young does it with his whole body, and that's what sells it.
Pittsburgh is shooting at 67% tonight, 14 of 21. And even though, again, Blair's been on the bench now for more than 4 minutes, they have extended their lead from 8 to 13 since he went out.
Look at the close by the Pittsburgh defense. Ball thrown around the horn, and guys still able to close and bother the shooters.
Blackledge will go to the line. Good penetration by Acker to set that up. ESPN's coverage of Championship Week continues tomorrow afternoon with both semifinal games from the ACC tournament at 1:30 Eastern. Virginia Tech picked up a big win in a bubble game against Miami today. They'll take on #1 North Carolina. And then Duke, which defeated Georgia Tech tonight against the winner of Boston College and Clemson.
How about Virginia Tech? One of those teams that are on the bubble, just going ahead, taking care of business, trying to play themselves into the NCAA tournament.
I think the only bubble team to pick up a win in the last couple of days around the country, it seems like.
That's the way it works.
Blackledge, 6'8", just 185 pounds. Good leaper, shot blocker. Knocks down 1 of 2. Here comes Matthews. Matthews, McNeil, Acker, Kubian out there. A small lineup right now for Marquette.
Small lineup, but match up reasonably well, although Acker and Benjamin kind of a mismatch right there. But the rest of the matchup reasonably well. Wesley Matthews, 6'5".
And that quickness can cause problems at the defensive end, can force turnovers, and we saw this kind of a lineup have success against Notre Dame last night.
Well, Kubian doing a nice job of pressuring Ramon, forcing him back. I think Ramon probably a little too passive. Once he got Kubian backing up as well, he should have just gone straight to the basket.
McNeil a little strong on the 8-footer. Offensive rebound, Matthews. A lot of shooters and penetrators on the floor right now for the Golden Eagles. Acker.
There's a turnover.
Yeah. Nobody touched it for Pittsburgh. Marquette turns it over.
And I thought that it was kind of a mismatch, Acker and Benjamin, in Benjamin's favor on the offensive end, but not necessarily on defense. But look at the harassment right there. Maurice Acker once again trying to wend his way through the defense with the dribble instead of the pass. And he's gotten himself in trouble again. 12 turnovers by Marquette, which is highly unusual.
James and Burke back in for the Golden Eagles. They turned this game for a few minutes into a track meet, got out in transition, got back close to Pittsburgh, but now Pittsburgh is kind of forcing their will on Marquette again. There's that ball fake again. A shot fake by Young. He ends up missing it, and back comes Matthews. Well, we mentioned Blair's on the bench for Pittsburgh with 2. Let's not forget that Lazar Hayward is on the bench with 2 for Marquette, their best inside scorer. Acker a lot of side to side. Oh, it's McNeil, his 3rd, Len. That is huge.
Well, Marquette not settling for jump shots, trying to put it on the deck and take people to the rim, create some issues for the defense. But Pittsburgh with great positioning. Look at Keith Benjamin right there, getting in position, beat McNeil to the spot. Once again, just get to that spot. McNeil lowers his shoulder and makes the contact.
Well, 2 of the 3 fouls on McNeil, at least 2. I can't remember the first one, but the second and third were both charges.
And again, people probably are sitting there and saying, wait a minute, Benjamin wasn't set. But you don't have to be set to take a charge. If the defender is in legal defending position and taking his lane, and the offensive player going down his lane all of a sudden dips his shoulder and breaks that plane between them, it can be called an offensive foul.
Biggs comes up with a miss by Fields. Benjamin is there. He has had some big moments here tonight.
I guess for the folks watching at home, if you don't know the score by now, it's all about these native New Yorkers.
That's right. Tom Crean's going to bring Hayward back in with 2 fouls, sensing this one is getting away from the Golden Eagles. Rebound Ramon. Hit brimming with confidence right now. Benjamin will head to the line when we come back. The New York City kids are getting it done tonight. The reality isn't good right now for Marquette.
Another night, another story. That's how this show goes.
You want reality TV? Well, here it is. You want reality TV? Well, here it is. You want reality TV? Well, here it is. East on ESPN. That's where it lives.
You in the studio not too far away from the Cisco halftime report and getting you up to date on what's going on at the Georgia Dome in the SEC. Alabama, Mississippi State, oddly enough, in a weather delay. Some severe weather in Atlanta tore open some panels in the Dome and caused a brief panic there. USC and UCLA battling at the half, and Luke Richard Mbamute was carried off the floor, and the Trojans have the lead. Get you up to date at halftime.
UCLA, a team that has dealt with injuries all season long. Ben Howland, the former coach at Pittsburgh, just hoping for a healthy Bruins team heading into the NCAA tournament. Pitt leading here by 14. Did a good job. Marquette did shutting down Luke Herringody, shutting down Brian Lang, but the number 3 scorer in the Big East this year, Sam Young's had a big first half.
Yeah, 12 points, and we're not done with this first half. And Sam Young has really been a difficult guy to contain because of his versatility, ability to shoot outside, ability to put it on the floor, and to post up. You look at the other 2 guys, and they might have had 1 or 2 of those dimensions, but not all 3.
I mentioned last night Keith Benjamin may be the glue guy for this Pittsburgh team, although he misses the free throws. 6 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 rebounds already in the first half. For more on Mr. Benjamin, let's go to Doris Burke.
One of those New York kids, Dan, and they made a commitment to go up-tempo before the injuries to Fields and Mike Cook, and he really felt like he could explode this year because of that. We've seen him get out in transition a couple of times. Lenny, Rucker Park, since he was 14 years old, is nicknamed K. Rucker. Do you have one, Lenny, from Rucker Park?
Yeah, but I can't pronounce it. Oh, I did. No, it's just a variation on my name. And from blocking a lot of shots, I used to have the announcer say, Elmore says no mo.
The shot clock did not reset. Under 10. Fields slapped away by Dominique James. It stays with Pitt. 6 on the shot clock. Quick hands on these Marquette guards.
Marquette needs to start creating some turnovers. They've already created too many of their own. 13 turnovers, 17 points for Pittsburgh off those turnovers. That's half their production.
Benjamin for 3. Under 3 minutes to play in the first half. McNeil on the bench with 3 fouls. Hayward in the game for Marquette with 2. Blair has been out better than 7 minutes for Pittsburgh, but again, Pitt has extended its lead in his absence. Hayward got it back, left it short. Hayward again and again. Boy, 3 or 4 offensive rebounds for the Golden Eagles, but they could not convert. They had 25 offensive rebounds in their first round win over Seton Hall, but turned it only into 13 second chance points.
Well, I think a little bit of over-anxiousness in trying to tip it instead of grabbing it. Strong possession, going up, ball faking, and powering up. But give Pittsburgh credit for hanging in there without fouling and ultimately getting possession.
James.
Boy, Dominic James having such trouble with that jump shot, and it may be because his legs are fatigued. A lot of his jumpers coming up short, even on the drives, going to the basket. It comes up short. The last time he drove to the basket, didn't quite make the rim.
Marquette has missed its last 13 shots. Kubion, baseline, 14 misses in a row for Marquette.
Certainly those are shots that they should make, but take nothing away from Pittsburgh, and they're making Marquette work so hard for their offense because of tremendous defense, and particularly position defense. Not about blocking shots, not about gambling for steals, just getting in the way.
Biggs misses wide right. Young comes up with it. An NBA distance 3, not there for Benjamin.
And he realized he was at the wrong line. He started smirking a little bit as he backed up.
James will try it again. And heading to the line will be Dwight Burke as Marquette desperately tries to somehow put the ball in the basket. Well, the winner of this game will take on the #1 seed in the conference, the Georgetown Hoyas, in the championship game tomorrow night, the Big East Championship, presented by Aeropostale at 9 Eastern here on ESPN. All the part of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. If you didn't see the first semifinal, Roy Hibbert was tremendous tonight for Georgetown after getting shut out. Not a single point against Villanova yesterday. 25 points and 13 rebounds tonight against West Virginia.
I saw the look on Jarrell McNeil's face. You know, it's kind of hard. He feels, I'm sure, like he's doing it by himself and needs his teammates to step up. And that's a look of concern right there.
Wow. 1 point in 8 minutes and 41 seconds.
No one else seemed to be able to get on track, and McNeil with 3 fouls. Can't get off the bench.
Seconds between the game clock and shot clock. Fields measuring James. Now the drive, uses the window off the corner of the backboard. Plenty of time for Marquette to hold for one if they want.
They need to hold just for the best shot, not necessarily hold for one.
Jump stop, James. And we've got a foul underneath. I think it's Gilbert Brown, and it is. And it'll be the 1-and-1 for Marquette with half a second left in the first half. Not a great look on that final possession. They were going a little bit too quickly for those 15 seconds.
Well, yeah, you're down 14. I don't know if it matters if you look for the last shot. You got to look for the best available shot. Your job is to put points on the board any way you can.
Blair back in just to try to corral the rebound if need be. What, over 9 minutes between points for Marquette, or between only 1 point in about a 9-minute span. Bird finally knocks down a free throw. As bad as it's been, and it was bad for Marquette, it's 13. 35-22 Pittsburgh as we go to the half. What a drought to end the first half. Let's go back to the studio and rejoin Reese Davis for the Cisco halftime reports.
All right, Dan, 35-22 at the break. Jay Billis, Bob Knight alongside. And the game pretty much unfolding largely the way you guys thought it would, although I'm not sure anybody had an 0-for-16 drought, nearly 9 minutes between field goals on their agenda.
Well, I think the thing that I noticed most in Marquette's drought was the fact that I thought toward the end of it, the last 5 or 6 possessions with a 14-point lead, Pitt shot pretty quickly. There wasn't a lot of patience in what they did offensively, and I thought, had a chance to really blow the game open for sure in those last half a dozen possessions, and really didn't take advantage of it. I think that the defense that Pitt has played has been extremely good.
And they're back to defending the way they did earlier in the year. You know, they got away from it the last 5 or 6 games, and in the Big East tournament, they're back to getting more physical. They're bumping every cut. They're standing you up. And that's the kind of defense that they're used to playing, and they've got their tempo. And one thing, they made Marquette take it out of the net early on in the game, so they couldn't get running.
And Pittsburgh has played in 6 of the last 7 Big East tournament championship games, trying to make it 7 of 8. Georgetown is
another story. That's how this show goes.
You want reality TV?
Here it is.
You want reality TV?
Here it is.
You want reality TV?
Here it is.
Once the whistle blows, tip off, no fear exists. You want reality TV?
Here it is.
You want reality TV?
Here it
The Big
is.
East on ESPN, that's where it lives.
Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Welcome to our continuing coverage of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. We are at sold-out Madison Square Garden in New York City. What a drought for Marquette. Better than 9 minutes without a field goal to win the first half. Pittsburgh leading by 13 as we go to the second half. Tonight's first half stats presented by Guinness. Marquette barely shooting 25%. Great rebounding, but could not capitalize on the offensive glass. Turned the ball over. Pittsburgh made them pay, and as we said at the close of the first half, as bad as it was, they're only down 13. How do they close the gap?
Well, first of all, the high percentage shots, the ones they get off the second chance opportunities, you got to be able to stick them or at least draw the foul and knock down the free throws. Continue to hit those offensive boards. Get Jarrell McNeil opportunities early. 3 fouls. You want to make sure you maximize his time on the floor. But more importantly, value the ball. 17 points off of turnovers. 13 turnovers by Marquette, which is their season average on a per-game basis. You give up half of a team's offensive output off of turnovers. You know, you've got to understand that valuing the ball is the first and foremost order of business.
You saw that note. This tournament is a grind. You play night after night after night, and only once has a team won in overtime and then gone on to win the next night. Pittsburgh, that was Syracuse in 06. Pittsburgh trying to become the second. Matthews called for the foul as we bring in Doris.
Tom Crean was remarkably upbeat at the half. He said, for only one starter making shots, we feel fortunate to be in this position, only 13 down. The 4 stops they got before the half he thought were absolutely monumental. He hopes to build off that. I asked him anything on Sam Young. He said, we did not get good position early because we give up so much size. We've got to communicate better with him.
Ramon fouled by Matthews. Back-to-back fouls committed by Wesley Matthews, and Ramon's going to get 3 free throws.
Just a bad decision by Wesley Matthews. You want to bother the shot. It didn't look like an awful lot of contact, but just enough to draw the officials' attention. And I mean, just enough. Ronald Ramon actually reached out with his left hand and made some contact.
By the way, when Doris quotes Tom Crean about only one starter making shots, he's not exaggerating. 4 of the 5 starters for Marquette were scoreless in the first half. When's the last time you saw that?
I don't think I ever have.
McNeil had 11, and the other 11 points came off the bench. The 2 fouls for Matthews, his first 2 of the night, is Ramon, a very good free throw shooter, misses 2 of 3. Blair winds up on the back of a Marquette player, tumbles to the floor. Now he trips over the back of Burke's foot, and we've got a foul.
All sorts of contact down low. Blair hustling for rebounds. And then the trip. Dwight Burke with his feet in his back. Done something a lot of people couldn't do, send Blair to the ground, and he goes down a 3rd time.
Well, Blair, a worthy successor to the Torrey Morris, Ontario-led Chevy Troutman, Donatas Zavascas group from a few years ago. Big, strong, physical.
And in the evolution of things, a little bit better because he's so much more skilled.
James is now 0 for 8 on the night. When he knocks down shots, this is an extremely dangerous team.
This is a great opportunity for Pittsburgh as they run their deliberate half-court set to really try to get some mileage out of DeJuan Blair. He's played only about 5 minutes on the floor.
How about that feed to Levance Fields? Beautiful pass by Blair.
And Blair's legs should be nice and rested.
Only played 5 minutes in the first half. Sat down for good with 10 minutes to go with foul trouble. Now McNeil's been about the only consistent offensive player tonight for Marquette. Hayward is fouled. And maybe Hayward is the X factor, the guy they need to get going.
Well, again, you talk about execution. Take a look at Levance Fields. The screen comes up here. He comes around as everybody focused on DeJuan Blair with the ball. And just a nice turn, face the defense, and take what's given.
And Len, what's just been given is foul number 3 on DeJuan Blair. He doesn't like the call at all. He's going to have to sit down. He has barely played in this game.
Well, even more rest for DeJuan Blair. If you're a Pittsburgh fan, though, got to be a bit concerned, even though Panthers built that lead with Blair on the bench for most of that first half. Now, give Terrell Biggs an awful lot of credit. He came on. We talked about eating minutes, played a little less than 16 minutes, 5 rebounds, 2 points, and 1 block. More than held his own inside and played pretty big.
Hayward's first 2 points of the night. Semifinal action of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale from Madison Square Garden. The winner will take on the #1 seed in the conference, the Georgetown Hoyas, who beat West Virginia by 17 in the first semi. Roy Hibbert, perhaps the game of his life, 25 points and 13 rebounds. The shot fake again by Young, and it works again. 14 for Sam Young.
It's like Groundhog Day. Every time Young gets the ball, it's the same thing.
Hayward, he can shoot it. A much improved shooter from a year ago, 45% from beyond the arc. 36 out of 80 coming in. His first 5 points, maybe giving a bit of life to Marquette. That was their first field goal in 11 and a half minutes. The screen by Biggs. James stays with Fields. Shot clock into single digits. Ramon got it back, lost it, chases it down. Good job by Ramon. Sam Young. What a player he's turned into.
He's getting away from Marquette. Tom Crean knows it.
A 15-point lead for the Panthers. Sam Young, first team all Big East. Whoops. There he goes again.
Davis with you. More details emerging on a possible tornado that went through downtown Atlanta. This is just outside the Georgia Dome where the SEC tournament is being played and is delayed. It was serious damage. There are no reports of injuries, thankfully, right now. The game between Alabama and Mississippi State is in overtime. It's been delayed nearly an hour, but you see the teams returning to the court, and they hope to get play started in a few moments. Mississippi State with a 3-point lead, a little under 3 minutes to go in overtime. UCLA down at the half has rallied against USC, 46-38. Kevin Love has 17 points.
And Reese here in New York, a 15-point lead for Pittsburgh. Len, you said it's like Groundhog Day. Sam Young with that shot fake over and over.
Yeah, just like the movie, just like hitting that alarm clock. But each time he sells it with his total body, gets up on his toes, and gets the defenders to raise up just enough to raise that center of gravity to allow him to go around them. And each time he recognizes getting the guys off the feet, puts it on the floor, and goes hard to the basket. I mean, so fundamentally sound with that ball fake. Now, one thing I can say is that you've seen throughout the games this year, sometimes the officials get it wrong. Guys will ball fake, they get on their toes, the officials will call them for leaving the ground. I'm sure Sam Young or somebody from Pittsburgh has to make sure that they remind the officials that, hey, when I ball fake, my toes are still glued to the floor.
Yeah, he has not been called for it once in this tournament. I know if I'm a young player, I'm going out and working in the gym on that move the next time. I mean, I'm watching the success Sam Young's having at this level with that move. I'm trying to put that into my arsenal.
And you talk about him being the most improved player in the Big East. Obviously, developing fundamentally sound moves such as the ball fake has certainly helped him. The other thing that sells, and probably the most important thing that sells, is the fact that he's a heck of a jump shooter.
Yep.
So you have to honor him.
And much healthier than he was a year ago when he was bothered by both knees. James, nice handoff, and Matthews is fouled. That is where Marquette really thrives in the half court, when James can penetrate and hand it off to a cutter.
And he probably is the best penetrator on this team. We've seen Maurice Acker try to get it done. Acker maybe just a bit too small. James not much bigger, but strong enough to take the bumps as he gets into that paint and delivers it.
Wesley Matthews at the line. His first point of the night. Matthews, James, Hayward, and Barrow all scoreless in the first half.
And this game, more than any, highlights the fact that you have to have solid, consistent defense if you're going to get through a tournament structure and play back-to-back-to-back games, because there are going to be nights when your offense goes south, as it has for Marquette, and you've got to be consistent defensively to make some stops until you can regain your touch. Stay close.
Looking for Jane, or for Young rather, in the post, defended by Matthews. Ramon will get a wide open look. A good rebound, and a push will be called on Tyrell Biggs. Number 3 on him, and he's playing for Blair, who's got 3 fouls.
But right now, Jamie Dixon's going to see how much further he can go with Tyrell Biggs, maybe until Biggs gets his 4th before reinserting Blair. But that could be quite a problem down low, because that's where Pittsburgh has had some strength, particularly on the glass.
James misses again. Here come the Panthers, up 13 as they were at the half. Fields lost it. And McNeil with an easy one. McNeil, the Big East leader in steals this season, and last year's Big East Defensive Player of the Year.
Vance Fields doesn't turn it over often, but sometimes he gets into one of those dribble funks where he's handling it too much.
There it is again. Oh, man, McNeil has been called for his 4th. He didn't buy the fake. He looked like he knew it was coming. but got his hip into Young, and don't know if Tom Crean's as upbeat now as he was before. Number 4 on McNeil. A lot of basketball these last few hours here at the Garden. Makes a man hungry, doesn't it, Lenny? No mo for Elmo.
A slice, please.
Pittsburgh leading Marquette by 11 early in the second half, and apparently tonight it's Askin, and we shall receive.
Oh, this is New York service right here, man. I called all the way from here, and the guy down the block heard me. I'm getting ready.
Oh, good for you.
You know, it's a good game pulling up.
So are you out for the next break? Am I on my own here while you're chowing down for a while?
No, I've always spoken with food in my mouth, as long as everybody understands it.
Good to know that. Well, Jarrell McNeil's got bigger concerns right now, as does Marquette. Their best player, at least in this tournament, has picked up his 4th foul. And again, it's that Sam Young shot fake that led to it.
And ever so slightly, watch McNeil gets his hands up, but his center of gravity is high enough where Young can get around him, and McNeil can't recover. If he's down in his defensive stance, with his center of gravity lower, he can move his feet and beat him to the baseline.
Pittsburgh has a little foul trouble as well. DeJuan Blair's on the bench with 3. Terrell Biggs is in for him in the game, but he's got 3 as well. But where does Marquette find offense without McNeil, who's been by far their best offensive player in this tournament? Ramon.
And that question you asked so far is a rhetorical question because they don't know either.
Well, if you're Pittsburgh, if you're the Panthers with a veteran team that's been through it in this league, in this tournament, in this building, you're smelling blood right now.
Oh, absolutely, and you learn, again, how to build a lead methodically, make a stop, get the rebound, and come down the floor deliberately, looking to execute your half-court set.
Remember, Marquette blew out Pittsburgh by 18 in Milwaukee earlier this season. That was the first game for Levance Fields back off an injury. Pittsburgh and Jamie Dixon, who's not one to really exaggerate or talk about his team a whole lot. He says, we're playing better right now than at any point of the season. They've got Fields back healthy. They've been practicing consistently, and they're playing well right now. Doris?
Jamie Dixon told his guys immediately following the game in the locker room, he goes, this is our house, and more importantly, we have the most experience dealing with the Big East when you've got to play on consecutive nights as much as we have, guys. He even touched on the fact that Marquette had yet to be in a semifinals in the Big East tournament, always working the mental angle, Lenny Elmore.
Well, whether he believes it or not, he can drill that into his guys' heads. So many guys from New York, so many of them with New York pride, and Jamie just touches that button, and his guys respond.
Number 3 on Lazar Hayward. He'll stay in the game, and it's been one of our themes of the week with Pittsburgh, how many New York City area kids they have. And as Doris said, the this is our house mentality they bring in here. We don't want to oversell it, but it is the number 1 thing on the minds of the Pittsburgh players when they come to this building.
And even though I question, maybe Jamie believes it, Jamie doesn't, I'm pretty sure he's convinced. And all he has to do is look at the bottom line.
Yep. Hayward for 3. Nothing going in for Marquette. An offensive rebound. Hayward again. Matthews. Wow, did they need that one.
Huge basket by Wesley Matthews. Even though the shots aren't falling for Marquette, even though they've had trouble containing Sam Young, you cannot argue with their effort. And when you continue to give effort like this, stay with it, hang in there, you hope there's enough time for good things to happen for you.
Jarrell McNeil on the bench with 4 fouls, 11 points at the half, 13 now. Hayward and Matthews didn't score until this half. James and Barrow still haven't. But as we said, Len, as bad as it's been, and it's been bad, it's only a 10-point game.
Well, right now, I think Tom Crean, with most of his starters on the bench, just trying to conserve some of their energy, believing his guys have some momentum. They can cut into this lead and bring those guys back. He hopes they can bring them home.
Well, again, they got to get a hand in the face of Ronald Ramon from the Bronx. Another 3 for him. Sam Young with a steal. Lays it in.
Another turnover. And it ultimately becomes demised by 1,000 cuts. They keep turning it over, and Pittsburgh keeps converting it. And look there, with good anticipation, excellent footwork, getting to position. And you talk about being energized, trying to bring it home. Look at the elevation on Ronald Ramon's jump shot. A lot of room between his feet and the floor.
And just as we said, it's only 10. All of a sudden, it's back to 15 thanks to Ramon and Young. Young's already got 18 points tonight after having 21 in each of the first 2 games. And the Oakland Zoo is loving what they're seeing. They come here every year expecting to spend the weekend. And more often than not, they do. They've made the championship game 6 of the last 7 years. And our coverage of Championship Week continues tomorrow night at 9 Eastern. The Georgetown Hoyas will take on the winner of this game at 9 o'clock Eastern here on ESPN. The Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Georgetown has never lost a game as the #1 seed in the tournament, 14-0 over 5 different years when they've been #1. 2, 3, and 4 lost to 7, 6, and 5 respectively in the quarterfinals. #1 safely into the championship game right now. Hayward for 3.
And it's points like that that continue to give Marquette some hope. But it's here on the defensive end that they've got to be able to make some stops. And just as importantly, they've got to be able to maintain possession of the basketball, not turn it over.
Young into the double team, looking for help. Ramon cannot shake Kubian, a good defender. James trying to stay with Fields. Fields putting up a few questionable shots here in this game. Hayward. Well, I think Marquette may have found their go-to guy in the absence of Jarrell McNeil.
Well, it's taken a while for Lazar Hayward. But after hitting that 3, it looks like his confidence is soaring.
All 10 points this half for the sophomore out of Buffalo. Back down to 10. Fields. Big spins to the baseline and draws the foul. Trevor Mbakwe, the foul for Marquette. To a timeout on the floor, a 10-point lead. Lazar Hayward trying to put the Golden Eagles on his back. Pittsburgh up by 10 on Marquette with 11:50 to go here in the second half. During the timeout, Marquette coach Tom Crean evidently said something that set off one of the officials because Coach Crean was called for a technical. So Ronald Ramon will head to the line for Pittsburgh. And I think it had to do with the Hayward basket. Remember that hard-fought jump hook in around the rim. After Hayward scored, Tom Crean was yelling at one of the officials on the way back down the floor about the lack of a foul call.
Also, he has an opportunity to fire up his team right now. Again, coaches trying to use just about every method that they can to make it us against them.
An 11-point lead. DeJuan Blair getting ready to come back in. Biggs is the shooter. Each of them with 3 fouls. A somber-faced Jarrell McNeil continues to sit on the Marquette bench, having picked up his 4th foul early this half. And Marquette somehow trying to rally without arguably their best player.
It's really difficult to blame him the way he's carried them the last couple of games. You know, he's out there giving the effort, but he is definitely sorely missed.
At both ends of the floor. Hayward's been the guy since McNeil went out. James has been unable to knock down a shot. 0 for 10. Matthews will get a good look.
And I'll tell you what, Dominique James, maybe he hasn't hit anything from the field, but he's figured prominently in these last several baskets made by Marquette. And he's got to recognize if he's not hitting shots, he can create something for others.
Matthews 8 points all in the second half. Hayward at 10 points all in the second half. And we have a 30-second time.
Right, half a second to go. This is Mikhail Riley for the win, and he couldn't get it to go. His three-point attempt put the game in overtime for Alabama, and after the long weather delay, Mississippi State prevails 69-67 over the Tide. Back to Madison Square Garden.
Audrey, so they've got the game back underway down in Atlanta. We've got a timeout here called by Jamie Dixon, a 30-second timeout, a 10-point game, 11:14 to go in the second half. Well, let's look back at the first semifinal tonight here at MSG. The #1 seed in the conference, Georgetown, against West Virginia, which knocked UConn out of the tournament yesterday. Joe Alexander, who had scored 56 points in the first two games, just could never really get on track. You can't say the same about Roy Hibbert.
Well, Roy Hibbert, again, going for a donut the first time around against Villanova. Here, made a conscious effort to be as assertive as he possibly could inside. And you just understand the capabilities of this young man if he came out every single night with that same type of aggression.
Now, John Thompson III, his coach, said after yesterday's game he was too tentative. It can't happen again. It won't happen again. Ramon has that floater down to a T here this week.
Going back to Joe Alexander being bottled up. Again, he's facing the #1 defense in America. And they focused on him and they put him under the blanket.
Another opportunity at an offensive rebound for Marquette, but they cannot even get a shot off as Fields replaces Ramon. Ramon, the guy who played point guard when Fields was out for the 12 games with a broken foot. Ramon's played some point guard in the past, but really more of a shooting guard at Pittsburgh, but did a very nice job filling in when Fields was hurt.
Yeah, he's not as flashy as Fields and maybe not as good a creator, but he makes sure guys are in the right place where they need to be. He makes sure the plays get executed and never turns it over.
Kubian. They got it down to single digits. Kubian had 13 off the bench in the win over Pittsburgh in the regular season, and the Marquette bench is up on its feet.
And you see the fire coming out right now, particularly after that technical foul.
Yep. 13 at the half, 9 now. Young loses it. Golden, no. Whose is it? It's Pittsburgh ball, says Pat Driscoll. And look at it. Look at the anger on Jarrell McNeil at that call. And he's got to be careful.
That's right. He's got to maintain his poise once again. Ball was tipped out. It looked as though it was off Sam Young.
And Tim Higgins is over, warning Tom Crean and the Marquette bench. Remember, a technical counts as a personal. If McNeil gets a technical, he's out of the game. He's got 4 already.
And look at this demonstration right here. Got to keep your emotions under control. He's still in a ball game.
They're going to need him in there in the next few minutes.
And Dan, you think about it, both of these teams are in the NCAA tournament, so they're not playing or fighting for their tournament live. But they care about this Big East tournament. They care about winning.
Blair stripped. James still can't make a shot. Dwight Burke of Marquette the foul.
Dominique James can't hit a shot, but you know what? That's a good shot for him. You got to keep taking it if it's available. And you take a look, Gilbert Brown trying to block out, continuing to block out, and Burke trying to get around him.
17 foul on Marquette, 1-1 for Gilbert Brown. You make a great point. Pittsburgh, for obvious reasons, their success and history here, their New York City kids, why this means so much. Marquette is a newcomer in the conference, 3rd year. First time they've gotten to the semis. But you can see from Tom Crean and Jarrell McNeil how much this game, this tournament means to them, even though, as you said, they're safely in the NCAA tournament. Great job by Kubian to tip it back out.
Yeah, that emotion is a rebuttal to the arguments that the conference tournaments don't mean anything to teams that are already in the NCAA.
This one on Pittsburgh is at Fields. It is number 2 on him. I mean, back when you played, you had to win the conference tournament to go to the NCAAs. It was that simple. So it's a little bit different now, but just look at the effort and the emotion from both coaches to see how much this game means to them.
You gotta love that.
Georgetown awaits the winner. Kubian strong to the rim and draws the foul. Is it Blair? Number 4 on DeJuan Blair.
Now Marquette making a push right now. It's Pittsburgh back on their heels. And Kubian, normally a jump shooter, turns the tables and puts it on the floor and takes it to the basket. Gets to the baseline. Take a look. Blair a little bit too slow. Blair's got to step out there more aggressively instead of allowing Kubian at least another foot on that baseline to get by it.
Blair was trying to convince Jamie Dixon to leave him in the game. The coach would have none of it. Diggs and his 3 fouls back in for Blair as they continue to shuttle in and out.
Man, you don't listen to freshmen in this situation right now.
1 of 2, an 8-point lead for Pittsburgh. 9 minutes to go here in New York. James has gone to the bench for Marquette. Acker is back in. McNeil remains out with his 4 fouls. Burke is called for the foul. Fields will go to the line.
You got to know your personnel out there. I think Pittsburgh did a nice job of recognizing, setting up the high screen, knowing that Marquette is going to jump out with their big men to try to hedge hard. And once Burke has to pick him up, Levance Fields knows he's got him in his back pocket.
We've got some guards in this game, too, and who are pretty savvy at drawing fouls on the opposition.
Yeah, but they better raise their level of performance from the free throw line.
You got that right. Pittsburgh under 50%.
Jacker didn't even look at his shot.
And he might have had it. I mean, he hit 1 in the first half. He hit 2 last night, but you're right. Another foul, this one against Pittsburgh. The bonus now for Marquette. What's at stake here tonight? A spot of the championship game tomorrow night here from New York. The Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale, Dan Shulman, Len Elmore, Doris Spurs. A sellout here with the Garden. The winner takes on the Hoyas, who beat West Virginia by 17 in our first semifinal tonight. The game, the championship game tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, right here on ESPN.
Well, certainly the winner has to emerge from this battle. But then coming up against Georgetown, I said before that game, and watching them play Villanova, they have a championship air about them. Watching them play Louisville in their last regular season game, as well as this game, they don't have to blow people out by 15. They're just as efficient, as businesslike as you want to be.
Len with Marquette shooting 31%. McNeil's foul trouble. All the problems they've had tonight. They're only 6 points down in this game.
And you credit that to the total team makeup. These guys are fighters. That's why it was so difficult for me to watch them play against Syracuse. Syracuse vaults out to a reasonable lead, and it looked like they became indifferent. As the last game of the season, they're already in the NCAA. What's the 5th seed versus the 6th seed? Who cares? But now this is a true Marquette character right here, fighting back, fighting through adversity.
Both coaches really reflecting the intensity and tenacity of their coaches. Biggs inside, and it goes.
Again, Tyrell Biggs stepping in for DeJuan Blair, who's in foul trouble, and giving Pittsburgh exactly what they need and then some.
Biggs with the answer as Pittsburgh ups the lead to 8.
By Jordan, become legendary.
Welcome back to Madison Square Garden, or maybe a couple of blocks away at the ESPN Zone. Some folks taken to the game here tonight from the Garden if they couldn't get tickets. An 8-point lead for Pittsburgh over Marquette. The winner of this game will play 4 straight days. Neither one of these teams got a bye. One of them is going to the championship game only once, as a team played 4 days and won the Big East Championship. That was Jerry McNamara and Syracuse 2 years ago. That amazing run that got the Orange into the NCAA tournament. Jarrell McNeil with 4 fouls has returned for Marquette. Terrell Biggs looking for the three-point play. Free throws, a major problem for Pittsburgh tonight. 8 out of 18.
And that's why if Marquette can pull this thing close, it'll add pressure to Pittsburgh when they get to the line.
James, his first field goal of the night. He got one heck of a screen to get to the rim. Blair on the bench for Pittsburgh with 4 fouls. Young. Marquette ball.
Well, take a look at this screen right here to free him up. And Sam Young should have been on this side hedging. Instead, he stands and he watches as Dominic James blows by.
Marquette with the ball down only 6. Another screen by Burke.
Looking trying to run the same play.
James again, and he's going to the free throw line.
All it takes is a couple of breakdowns defensively by Pittsburgh. Let Marquette back in the ball game.
The foul on Biggs. His 4th. Blair's got 4. Biggs has 4. Well, no style points for Marquette tonight, but they're back in this game. Lazar Hayward is back in now for Dan Fitzgerald. And Jamie Dixon will not go back to DeJuan Blair just yet. A 4-point game. The biggest lead for Pittsburgh tonight was 16. Great help by McNeil. You better know where he is when you throw a cross-court pass against Marquette.
Dominic James just managing these last several possessions as well as you can. Getting people in position, trying to get them to play to their strengths.
Tough shot by Hayward. Let's go back to Doris Burke.
Well, you wonder how this team could be this resilient. Well, Tom Crean, everywhere this team goes, in the locker room, in the coach's office, inspirational messages and quotes from a variety of books that Coach Crean reads. He is always positive. He's always got energy. Even when his team doesn't, guys, a little breakdown there, but it's amazing how tough they've hung. It's a reflection of their coach.
Fields the lob to Brown. We'll give him credit for a pass. We think that was a pass.
Oh, absolutely was. Absolutely was. That was Levance Fields at his best, creating for someone else. Almost creating something out of nothing.
Hayward keeps the toe down.
Well, if you let Sam Young do it, Hayward deserves it.
Burke a miss. Rebound Ramon. Barrow and Matthews getting set to check back in.
And right now the ball in Levance Fields' hands. He gives it up to Sam Young. Trying to shorten the game right now. It seems that Pittsburgh is doing it.
Remember, the 3rd game in as many nights for both teams. Young doesn't look tired at all. 20 for Young. 3rd consecutive game in this tournament with 20 or more. Acker and James in there together in the backcourt for Marquette. Young takes it away from McNeil.
That's McNeil's 5th turnover. And again, for all the positive things he's done, he's got to take better care of the ball as well.
Under 5 minutes to play, the winner gets a date with the Hoyas in tomorrow night's championship game.
And Pittsburgh not only taking a little bit of time off the clock, but trying to get the isolations that they know can get them to the free throw line.
Acker a little over exuberant on defense, calling for the foul. Double bonus, 2 shots for Fields.
Sam Young again just sensing Hayward standing straight up and goes right beyond him. And then Fields, he knows who's on the other end, on the receiving end. The athletic Gilbert Brown, he just threw it up to the rim and said, Gilbert, you do the rest.
After Pittsburgh start knocking down some free throws, they'll have to do it eventually in all likelihood to seal this win. As a team under 50% on the night. Here comes Barrow. Here comes Matthews as Tom Crean loads up for the stretch run.
Well, we've seen it time and time again with this Pittsburgh team. You know, throughout the course of the game, they'll miss some free throws. They'll do some things, make some mistakes. But when the game tightens down the stretch, their concentration, their focus seems to tighten.
Well, last night was a great example. They were under 50% as a team from the line last night and then made 10 in a row in overtime against Louisville. The lob for James. Oh! Dominique James at about 5'10", soaring above the rim.
I'll tell you what, that's one of those plays, obviously, that not only gives Marquette some points, but it just might lift that burden from Dominique James. He's not shooting well. It might create a whole new Dominique James for the next 4 minutes.
Ramon. Rebound Hayward. Marquette can inch a little bit closer. James off the ball right now. Here's McNeil. A little breathing room, misses the shot, and Ramon with a rebound.
Terrific, peeling the guards back. 5 guys on the boards for Pittsburgh. Possession right now, so all important for Pittsburgh as they have a chance to take a little time off, run their sets.
Young again with that shot fake. The kick to Fields. Rebound McNeil. We near the final 3 minutes. Marquette down 8. How did he do that? Jarrell McNeil makes it a 6-point game.
That was sheer will, folks. Falling off balance, still able to get it up high enough off the glass.
Immediate timeout at the next whistle.
And when you watch Levance Fields handle the ball, a lot of times it's so staccato. I mean, he's banging it down hard. That's why it rarely gets taken away from him. So totally under control.
Pittsburgh using some clock. Matthews tries to save. It'll be Pittsburgh ball with 4 to shoot when we come back. 2:26 to go. The Marquette Golden Eagles trying to heat up here down the stretch and get back in this game. The smallest man on the court flying high. It's a 6-point game.
After the game on SportsCenter, whose bubble popped tonight? Bob Knight answers viewer March Madness emails. See if the Rockets can make it 21 straight wins and which Yankee will pay the price for spring brawling. We'll see after Big East Hoops.
Reese Davis with you in the studio in the Pac-10, USC and UCLA. Bruins 4-point lead. O.J. Mayo with the scoop to cut it to 2 under 2 minutes to go. This game went right down to the final seconds. 3-point lead for the Bruins. Here's the freshman Mayo. 4 overtime. No, sir. UCLA escapes. They're going to the title game. 57-54 is the final. Couple of other scores. Hey, the 10 seed in the Big Ten, Illinois is already through to the semis. Maybe Minnesota, the 6, joins them. Kent State, best team in the MAC, in trouble against Miami, Ohio.
Tigers, thank you. A 6-point lead here for Pittsburgh. 2:26 to go. A berth in the championship game on the line. Tonight's game is also available in sparkling high definition on ESPN HD, presented by Olivia. Georgetown by 17 over West Virginia in the first semifinal tonight. And Pittsburgh, Levance Fields and company 2.5 minutes away from meeting up with the Hoyas in the championship game for the 2nd year in a row. But Marquette is not going away. They have not shot the ball well at all. They have not taken advantage of their opportunities on the offensive glass. Jarrell McNeil's had foul trouble, and they've scratched and clawed back within 6. Held the ball, and the arrow gives it to Marquette.
But just at a time when Pittsburgh needed to clear the ball, get it back out to half court and start their offense, Brown turns it over. Marquette with extra time, so to speak, the time that Pittsburgh didn't use on their offense.
James driving. Matthews penetrates off balance. Barrow with a rebound and a foul. Is it Biggs? Because if it is, he's done. He's been getting a lot of minutes. In place of Blair, it is not Biggs. It is Gilbert Brown with his fourth. Blair still on the bench.
Might have been fortuitous for Pittsburgh that it's not Biggs.
Barrow 66% on the season.
Although I think it may be about time to start inserting DeJuan Blair, give him those 2 minutes. See if we can get something out of him to keep this deal sealed.
Sports Center is after us tonight right here on ESPN. A look at of course, incredibly significant day in college basketball. All the big-time college basketball conferences right in the thick of their tournaments right now. 1 of 2 for Barrow. It's down to 5. The biggest lead of the night for Pittsburgh was 16. Marquette has never led. And the closest they've been this half was 4. Well, we've got some experience, some poise, some good ball handlers. Pittsburgh running some clock again. Young lost it. And it'll be a held ball, which will give it back to Pitt. 7 on the shot clock.
Again, another bounce of the ball in favor of Pitt. On the drive, Young just loses a handle. And Marquette obviously over there sniping, trying to slip it away, bat it away.
Fields to inbound. Nearly stolen. Another second comes off the shot clock as the Golden Eagle players trying to get the best vantage point they can from the far end of the court.
And make no mistake about it, this game matters. If nothing else for bragging rights and the pride of the Big East Conference for both these teams.
Marquette ball. Bit by bit, minute by minute, they edge closer and closer. But is Marquette going to run out of time? Georgetown awaiting the winner. The lob again. And the follow by James. What a play. They're as close as they've been in the second half. Timeout, Pittsburgh. Minute 10 to go as we take another look left.
Well, you're going to take a look right here. It's all about Sam Young communicating. Sam Young right here. Here's the screen. He's got to follow and make sure that Dominique James doesn't get to the basket. Instead, he stays with his man, doesn't communicate with Levance Fields. And that shows you how important communication is on the defensive end.
Well, let's document, Len, how Marquette has gotten back into this game. McNeil was the only starter to score in the first half, but Hayward came alive here in the second.
Well, it was Lazar Hayward that really lit the spark. You want to start a fire, you need a spark, and that was Lazar Hayward. And then Dominique James with the alley-oop dunk the first time and made believers out of these guys. Jarrell McNeil, he's been doing it just about all tournaments. Saddled with foul trouble today, so he couldn't be as consistent. But he's gotten his partners involved with him. And it's Dominique James as well as Lazar Hayward that have carried Marquette, at least to this point, only 3 down.
James knocked down by Fields. Play continues. James looking as if he may be cut inside his mouth as he defends Fields. Under a minute to go.
But you can say what you want. Dominique James, a tough young man.
Fields is fouled. James can't believe it. Fields will shoot 2. Let's take another look at the contact up near midcourt as James gets knocked down the left forearm of Fields.
Yeah, it's relatively inadvertent, although Fields obviously trying to avoid the contact and make a cutback. But Dominique James didn't waver. He got back off the deck and got back in defensive stance.
2 shots for Fields. And again, late in the game, second night in a row, Pittsburgh doing the job at the end of the game after struggling mightily earlier.
The free throw stroke may not always be there when Pittsburgh wants it, but apparently it's there when they need it. Always on time.
5-point lead. James driving. Matthews.
Look at that rebound.
Well, you got to give Dominique James all the credit in the world for how hard he is working to try to get a rebound, a loose ball, anything. Pittsburgh heading to the line again.
And going back to Milwaukee and nationally, just because he had a tough night shooting, can't put the weight solely on Dominique James, but this guy never gave up. Continues to battle. Undersized, overpowered.
Tom Crean will take a timeout. SportsCenter is next here on ESPN. Scott Van Pelt and John Abuchagras will bring you all the big stories of the day, including Coach Bob Knight breaking down the madness of this Friday during championship week. Can the Rockets make it 21 in a row? And the punishment is handed down for that brawl between the Yankees and the Rays. You can take the devil out of the Devil Rays, but you still might have a little trouble every now and again. You're a Yankee fan, so I won't ask you who started it, but suffice to say, we found out today some Yankee veterans talked to Shelley Duncan about that slide at second base, getting your spikes up. Back here in New York, in the Garden, Pittsburgh trying to advance to the championship game for the 7th time in 8 years. Let's put that in perspective a little bit. In a league of this magnitude and strength, to potentially make the finals 7 out of 8 years.
And it's no coincidence, again, that there's a long line of succession of New York players coming into this Pittsburgh program, and they just keep passing the baton to the next generation. It was Krause of the Fields.
Sam Young, 2 shots. 21 points, 3 nights in a row for Sam Young.
Now, Pittsburgh's got to stay up now. They just can't make it easy for Marquette to come down and knock down threes. Got to stay up and at least bother folks.
McNeil draws the foul.
And that is absolutely what you don't want to do. Stop the clock and allow Marquette to put points on the board and lose Tyrell Biggs.
Number 5 on the Biggs, who gave Pittsburgh some very big minutes tonight in place of the equally foul-prone DeJuan Blair.
Well, you know, Jamie Dixon is telling Tyrell Biggs, you know, you stand in his way, but you get out of the way. That we could afford to give up the points, but not with the clock not moving.
The dominant theme of this Pittsburgh team, as we mentioned tonight, the New York City connections. They have a number of players who hail from this area. Keith Benjamin from Mount Vernon, New York. Levance Fields from Brooklyn. Tyrell Biggs from Nanuet, New York. Ronald Ramon from the Bronx. They've all been here before. They've all won here before. They all relish the opportunity to play here now.
And you can see these guys really understand how to seal a deal. And don't be misled. Keith Benjamin had a spurt there that really helped Pitt vault out to this lead, one that they haven't relinquished earlier in the game. And Tyrell Biggs, those points, you know, this is added bonus. Biggs was big in the middle, rebounding, playing defense. This mistake can't overshadow the stuff that he's done in place of DeJuan Blair.
6 points, 8 rebounds in 31 minutes for Biggs tonight, who is not replaced by Blair. Blair's still on the bench. Young and Brown are as big as it gets right now for Pittsburgh. Marquette still looking at a good seed in the NCAA tournament, you would think, even if they lose this game. They've had a good season.
Yeah, the real beneficiaries of this game, Pittsburgh, with the win and the ability to move up in seeding.
Picking up wins over Louisville and Marquette in your conference tournament is going to resonate with the tournament selection committee.
Oh, there's no question about it. Again, it's the head-to-head competition as they start to set up seeding. The representative capability of a team to not only be competitive but to win some games in the tournament also makes a lot of sense when you start to determine where you want to seed a team.
Again, the deeper into a game it gets, the better Pittsburgh seems to shoot free throws. They've now made 7 in a row.
And you know what this comes from? It's like playing in the city. You know, you get on the court at a crowded playground. If you can't win, you can't find a way to win, you're off the court. You may not play for a while.
Tom Crean will use a timeout. Let's go to Doris Burke now, who's going to talk about Pittsburgh having a knack for finishing off games. Doris?
Well, guys, there was a time where they didn't have a lot of practice time and certainly not enough bodies in practice to scrimmage and do live game action. And most importantly, down the stretch of the year, guys, special situations just like this one. Well, they got a little bit healthier, and those are the kinds of things over the last 2 weeks that they've been working on. Clearly, when Marquette made a run, they had enough in them to make the plays necessary.
Got to give them a lot of credit. Beat Cincinnati by 6, beat Louisville in overtime, leading Marquette by 6. We talked about Georgetown having an act in close games. Pittsburgh has done the same. Ronald Ramon, a buzzer beater to beat West Virginia during the season. Both of these teams fall into this category, but speaking of Pittsburgh specifically right now, they don't get intimidated. They don't get gun-shy. They just keep playing Pittsburgh basketball.
That's where a lot of these guys were raised, man.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to, and they don't want to leave this court. As I said, out in the playgrounds, you lose, you're off for a while. Pittsburgh doesn't want to leave.
Kubian misses the 3. Benjamin the rebound and a foul, and that should just about do it. A year ago, Georgetown and Pittsburgh met in the championship game. They also met during the regular season this year. And in the regular season matchup this year, it was a Pittsburgh win at the Peterson Event Center. A big game for Keith Benjamin, one of just 4 losses suffered by Georgetown on the season.
So I think we have a little revenge motive as a subtext to winning that trophy.
Still a 3-possession game, under 10 seconds to go. Kubian. And the Pittsburgh Panthers have advanced to the Big East championship game for the 7th time in the last 8 years. It'll be a rematch of last year's championship game between the Georgetown Hoyas and the Pitt Panthers. A workmanlike, but is there any other kind of Pittsburgh win? 68-61 victory here tonight.
Well, they took enough advantage of the cold shooting Marquette team, particularly the starters. And they obviously played some terrific defense in that first half, and that's where it all began. Marquette found themselves in the second half, but the hole that they dug was far too deep to climb out of.
The number 1 seed against the number 7 seed, although as we'll probably hear momentarily, Jamie Dixon thinks Pittsburgh's playing their best basketball of the year. Doris Burke is with Coach Dixon.
Jamie, for the 7th time in 8 years, you guys will play for the Big East Championship. I mean, how does this team continue to advance in this city?
Well, we like playing here. We'll do whatever we can to play in the city. We like playing in the Garden. We got New York kids. Families are here. You know, we're playing our best basketball right now, too, so I think that's a good thing. We've won 6 out of 7. We got things coming together here right now. It's the right time.
You'll face a Georgetown team that is remarkably tough on the defensive end. I know it's early, Jimmy, but your thoughts on that matchup for tomorrow?
Is that who we play? I don't even know. We'll go look at it, but they're good. This team's really good. We just beat their Marquette's a great team. You know, you're going to have to beat good people, and they're very good. They're well coached, but we like playing in the Garden, so we'll show up.
I know you will. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks.
So Pittsburgh over Marquette, Georgetown over West Virginia, #1 against #7 in the championship game tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern, here on ESPN. SportsCenter is coming up next here on ESPN. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Pitt advances. For Len Elmore, Doris Burke, and our entire crew, I'm Dan Shulman. Thanks for watching.